Right here on Bogart Men Radio, and as always, we bring you the very best, we say the very best of reggae music from Mzansi to the Caribbean and back again. But before we do that, I gotta get back into the interview mode because I'm sitting with such a special guest. Now, the person that I'm with today, well, she's an entertainer, she's an entrepreneur, she's an activist for the creative arts, working out of Constitutional Hill, Pretoria. She's a busy lady all around the map, actually. She goes by the name of Leote Taylor. How are you doing today, Latoya?
I am very well, thank you, Don. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Well, I guess the best place to start is where did it begin for you? Your love for entertainment, your love for singing, where did it start?
It actually started at home.
Okay.
So I was surrounded by a very musical family.
Yeah.
My uncle played the saxophone. My mother's brother played the guitar.
Okay.
I had a cousin who was part of the Drakensberg Boys Choir.
Yeah.
And we went to church, and I think that's where most people learn to sing.
That's true. That's true. Church is a breeding ground of great artists. I always say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Beautiful. And then from there, you've now started getting an interest into the craft. How did you now step into it from being a hobby into a profession? How did you mold that?
It's actually quite a funny story. So I used to sing in the school choir, and then when I finished school, I begged my parents to let me study music.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, that's not a viable career. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. So I studied psychology. And then while I was studying psychology, I lived with my dad in KZN. And I'd actually sneak out to go to studios.
Okay.
And I'd do backing vocals for house musicians
What?
and all of that. And then I did that. And then I actually left KZN to come back to Gauteng. And then I was working at ABSA. And close to ABSA was the South African State Theatre. And there
Yeah.
was a place called the MC Art Academy. So I enrolled myself there part-time.
Yeah.
And then I got to hang out with all the musicians, did a bit of music there. And then I did a show for the Barnyard Theatres, actually. And an international agent scouted me while I was there. And
Lovely.
asked me to do an international tour with them. And
Yeah.
I did. And what was supposed to be for 6 months turned into like 4 years
That's
of
crazy.
performing and touring internationally. Then I came back and I actually had saved up enough money to study performing arts. And I studied at the Tshwane University of Technology.
Okay.
And I've been a full-time musician since then.
Oh, wow. That's a crazy journey. Crazy
Yeah.
journey. And I love how it starts with that brave step of going from KZN, coming to Joburg, and then enrolling at the State Theatre. It's quite a crazy chain of events that follow from there. How was it like transitioning from KZN to Joburg? A lot of people make that type of journey. They say to follow their dreams and come to Joburg looking for fame, fortune, and whatever. What was it like for you?
So I actually grew up in Pretoria.
Okay.
So it wasn't a big transition for me.
Nice.
However, the Durban music scene is very different to the Joburg scene. Here, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Yeah.
And breaking into the industry here was quite tough. But I was lucky and blessed enough to meet some great people along the way that opened a few doors for me.
That's quite beautiful. And then going into theatre. Theatre is quite a different realm of music. It's a different realm. It's live performance. It's also entailing acting. How was that, getting used to that and tailoring your work and your music into that?
I think when I studied at TUT, studying performing arts and musical theatre specifically, for me it helped me to hone all three crafts. So
Yeah.
musical theatre comprises of singing, dancing and acting. So I did a bit of dancing. The acting was great because that allowed me to get a few roles on television shows and all of
Nice.
that. But the music part was great because it allowed you to tap into many different genres.
Of course.
And on the campus there was actually a jazz portion,
Yeah.
and I would hang out with the jazz cats a lot, so that also helped.
That's quite cool. The jazz cats are always quite cool. And now going on to tour from there, like you were saying, that became like a 4-year thing, going from Barnyard Theatre, performing there, and then being scouted to go with an international agent on international tours. What was that like? I know it's a lot of dedication. People
Yeah.
think, look, you're going on tour, it's another country. They see it like tourism. But what was it really like?
Sure, it was, for me, that's where my repertoire grew.
Yeah.
And that's what actually helped me when I come back to South Africa to book so many gigs, because I would do anything from, I did 6 months in Vietnam where we
Okay,
just
wow.
did top 40 and R&B.
Let's
Then
go.
I did another 3 months in Thailand where we just did rock.
Awesome.
Then I did a Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson tribute show in Europe. So that was great for the different genres and just learning and the techniques and
Yeah.
all of that. And also obviously getting to see the world.
That's quite beautiful. And when it comes to your music and creating your own sound, now that you've moved into the zone of being a recording artist as well, is this the experiences that you take and you put together into the works of music that you're making? What does the process become now that you've experienced all of this?
I think for me, one of the clear things that I knew when I started with this album was that I didn't want anything to be programmed. That was my number one thing. And the producers looked at me and they were like, "Are you insane?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." So the process was quite cool. I'm a songwriter first, I always say.
Yeah.
So I usually would start by writing a song and then take it to my producer, who's amazing, Neil Engel from the Hit Lab. And he would sort of do some pre-production, and then we would select the musicians:
Yeah.
bass, keys, drums, lead guitar, saxophone, trumpet, backing vocals, whatever we need. And then we'd bring them into the studio. And it was always amazing for me to hear from pre-production what they would actually interpret, because that's the beauty of live music, is allowing musicians to interpret what they hear and to make it their own. So the process was quite cool.
And that's quite a beautiful process right there. Allowing interpretation as well is quite a beautiful thing, because you'd find a lot of times people want absolute control. They want it to sound the way that they have imagined it in their head, but allowing someone to explore that gives you more creativity and flexibility in the music, I believe.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
you've moved forward, you've been recording this album, and Neil did an excellent job. It's sounding amazing.
Thank you.
You've put together a launch that you yourself went and you planned, and you
Yes.
put together all the little pieces of it. What
Yeah.
was the experience like that about as well? And I know it was dedicated to someone that was very near and dear to you.
Yes.
So yeah, what was it all about for the listener?
Sure. So the album is actually dedicated to my dad,
Yeah.
first of all, because he was like my absolute biggest fan,
Yeah.
even though he didn't want me to study music. When he saw me making a success of it, he actually became my biggest fan.
Nice.
And putting that together was terrifying. To go from a space where people know you as a cover artist, where you're singing cover music, you're performing in all the clubs and all the venues around Joburg and Pretoria, performing at all the corporate events as a cover singer, that sort of becomes your identity. And the terrifying part was, would people accept what I had to offer? Number one, would they like what I had to offer? And I remember the day of the event, I thought that like 2 or 3 people would show up. And then you were there. The venue was like packed, and it
was
was
beautiful.
full to capacity, and I was just shocked. And then just the feedback from people after that, just experiencing the music, experiencing the sound, was pretty awesome.
That's quite a beautiful thing. And I know the album is available. Can people find it? Links to it on your page. Where can they find the album if they want to go and give it a listen?
So there are 3 singles that have been released currently.
Okay.
I'm doing an event on my birthday on the 4th of April at Artistry here in Johannesburg. And that's where I'll be performing the full album. And then a few weeks after that, the full complete album will be available. But at the moment, there are some singles from the album available on all major streaming platforms: iTunes, Spotify. Wherever you find good music, that's where it'll be.
That's beautiful. Your birthday is a day after mine, so that's also
Really?
quite cool. Yeah, that's quite awesome.
Oh, so you have to come.
I do, right? We have to celebrate
Yes, you
together.
must
That's
come.
quite
We
cool.
have to be there.
And then transitioning into the business world, because I mean, not only are you a creative artist, not only are you a performance artist, not only are you an actress, but you're also a businesswoman. How did that come about, and how does that fit into your brand?
Oh, I think we have COVID to thank for that. I always thought, listen, music is the be all and end all, and that's all I will do. But God has a way of surprising you and sort of showing you parts of your talent that you didn't know that you had.
Yeah.
And you should know that during COVID, as the entertainment industry and as the creative and arts industry, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
And I think we suffered the longest run with lockdown of us operating as artists. So that sort of pushed me to a place where I had to decide, listen, until the industry opens up, what am I going to do? And I didn't really have many options. And my business was actually incubated by the South African Creative Industries Incubator in 2017. And they came to me towards the end of 2020 and said, hey, listen, we have a position opening up. Would you be interested in applying? And I was like, ugh, it's a way to make some money until I can perform again. And I did. And I was the incubation coordinator for a year. and then they promoted me to incubation manager. And then in 2023, I became the CEO of the organization. And it's a great organization
Yeah.
that allows for the growth and scaling and sustainability of creative businesses.
It's quite a beautiful thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that hub that you guys are operating out of in Constitutional Hill is also quite a special building because everybody there is contributing in their own special way to the arts right now in the artistic space. How do you see that space growing in South Africa and the international reach that we're receiving and recognition that we're receiving? How do you see that impacting the industry as we go forward? Is it a positive thing? Are we growing in a good way? How do you interpret the industry right now?
I think the industry right now, I love the fact that a lot of creatives are leaning towards the fourth industrial revolution, which is, technology, integrating technology into their business. But what I love about the hub at Constitution Hill is that there's collaboration.
Yeah.
And I think that is the beauty of that space. Every floor has someone that you could collaborate with to assist in growing your business. And I think that the state of the industry right now, we have someone for the first time in a long time as our minister who actually cares.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing for
True.
us. And that's exciting. And that sort of makes me feel positive about where it's heading.
100%, me too. And especially in the music sector, I think that artists were feeling quite marginalized and left out with a lot of things that were going on. And it seems like it's becoming more of an inclusive environment. Slowly but surely, I mean, change and progress always takes time. So we have to sit back and wait for things to develop faster. But when you look at events and things that are happening around the space in Constitutional Hill, what is your take on the arts sphere in that area? I mean, I think it was the week before last, I had two gentlemen that come through. They've started a fashion and styling lab out of some containers in Constitutional Hill. They're doing quite well. They've opened the space up to some other young entrepreneurs that also come and sell their wares. So I'm loving the collaboration going on there. Is there collaboration between the artistic side, the event side, all those type of sides within Constitutional Hill?
So there is a lot of collaboration. So Constitution Hill always tries, and I respect them very much for that, is when they have events or when they have festivals, when they have any sort of something happening, they always bring in the artists from the hub.
Nice.
From our perspective, we always try to include as many entrepreneurs as we can in our programs when we have suitable programs available, of course, and just working with Constitution Hill to sort of create sustainability for the creatives in the building.
Quite beautiful. And I see there's also quite a few visual artists, graphic artists that are in the building as well. How do you guys utilize their elements and their skill sets within the stuff that you do?
So we had a program called the Arts Accelerator program. So we worked with quite a few visual artists there. But if you go to Constitution Hill, the entrance of the building, I don't know if you know what the building looked like before.
No.
But you see the artwork and the mural outside.
Yeah.
We use some of the artists that are in the building to do that.
Nice.
And then we also use them to do some of the murals. So all the murals you see around Constitution Hill was sort of commissioned by us for Constitution Hill in collaboration with the artists, some of the artists in the building.
That's so beautiful. You guys are doing an amazing job. You've really helped to regenerate the area in a significant manner. I mean, I never saw the building before, but what it looks like today, it's alive, it's vibrant, it gives you the feel that there's artists, there's youth in here. It's a beautiful place to be. And I implore the listeners, if there's anyone who's going past Constitutional Hill and you're in the arts sector, go and have a look because it's something special. It's a beautiful place to be. Now, talking about some of the stuff that you're doing, are you also working on projects that reach nationwide, that perhaps touch for the larger segments of youth that are out there?
Yeah, so we do incubate nationally using a hybrid approach. So a lot of our programs are countrywide. If you go into our social medias, the South African Creative Industries Incubator, you'll see that there are many call-outs. We're currently doing a call-out where we are actually looking for visual special effects artists in the Western Cape. So if you go onto our Facebook platform and our Instagram platform, there's a link for applications. And always just keep an eye on our pages because there you can find links to all of our offerings.
Perfect. Do you guys have individual pages, or is there one main page if somebody's interested in any of these projects that you're working on, that they could get in touch?
Basically just the main page, which is the South African Creative Industries Incubator on Facebook and Instagram.
Nice. And I like how you're using social media as well. That's how you get the kids. You got to.
Yes, there's no other way. There's no other way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, switching hats and going back again to your artistic and your musical side, I want to talk about your creation process and what does it take for you when you're creating a song, writing a song. I know it's an emotional journey. Putting a song down is not just words on paper, but it's feelings. There's so much. How does it go for you when you're creating?
For me, it's quite a simple process. I write from experience, life experiences, situations, anything that I'm going through, I usually write about. So if I feel in the mood, I would call my pianist,
Okay.
and he would come over with his keyboard, sit at my place. We'd light a fire and just write. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll just have something in my head and I'll quickly jot it down. Sometimes I'll be driving in the car. Sometimes, however, my producer will send me a beat or just a melody, and he'd say, hey, do you like this? And I'd write and listen to that, but it just depends on where I'm at the time. But it's everything that I write is true. A lot of people always ask me who are the songs about. I'll never say.
Yeah.
But it's all real. It's all real situations. It's stuff that I've experienced, and I think as they say, art imitates life. So that's what I do.
I love that. I love that. And in terms of sounds, where would you say you're at now? How would you describe your sound? I mean, you've said you've been through so many, from rock, R&B, so diverse. Where would you describe your sound right now?
I think if we're gonna be if we want to be strict about it, it's a lot of people would categorize it as R&B.
Okay.
So R&B, but I would like to call it a soulful R&B.
Nice.
More soul than R&B itself. But I think it's best to let people listen and hear what they think.
No, I'm with you. You know, I prefer to let the artists define their own sounds, and I think soul R&B really fits it perfectly because that's what it feels like. You're putting your soul into it, so what it feels like is what it is. So beautiful, soul R&B right there. Dream collaborations, anybody that you've been wishing, thinking, yo, I'd love to, or maybe something wild that you thought, I've never thought of this genre, but I'd love to get something with it.
I think one of my dream collaborations, it's not really a dream collaboration, it's just a collaboration that I would like to see where it would go, would be with Manana.
Okay.
Here in South Africa. That would be absolutely awesome. I think that would be a great putting the two sounds together and seeing what comes from that. So that would be awesome. Another collaboration I'd love to do is with Sanel Musician, actually.
Okay.
I think blending his sound and mine together could do something quite special. So yes, those are the ones.
Those are good choices. I think I think the sounds could really blend and do something special. So those are some great choices. Now, I know I'd be amiss if I didn't ask for the young musicians that are listening. Music is such a difficult journey, and you've overcome a lot of hurdles to get to the position you are. What would you say is one of the biggest hurdles that you've had to overcome to just get yourself heard, to get yourself out there?
I think number one, comparison is the thief of joy. No one's journey will be the same. No one's journey will ever. You might see someone just literally coming out of nowhere and making it, and then someone else struggling. But you have to stay on your path, number one. So that's the first thing I would say. I think staying true to who you are. Believing in what it is that you want to do. Along the way, people are going to come and they're going to say, oh, don't you want to try this? Or don't you want to do that? And if you're not steadfast in who you are as a person, you'll be swayed from side to side and going with the flow. And number three, I think discipline. Discipline, you can literally accomplish and achieve so much if you just instill discipline in yourself, in your craft.
Nice. And I think that leads me perfectly to the question that's on the flip side of the coin. That would be, what would be your biggest success, something that you're the proudest of the most? And it doesn't have to be an award or anything, but something that you're proud of, you know?
I think for me, one of the things that I'm most proud of is all the places that I've performed.
Nice.
And all the people that I've been able to perform for. I've performed for some presidents, for some royalty, at some great international events. So I think getting to see the world, that's
nice.
One of my biggest achievements.
That's quite cool. And most memorable performance?
Shoo. my for the president of France.
Oh, wow.
I think that would be
That's memorable.
right on top.
That'll stick out in your mind,
Yeah,
definitely,
definitely.
definitely. And most difficult performance, and why was it so difficult?
Most difficult. You know what? To be quite honest, corporate performances are always difficult. It's very formal. People are just sitting there. They've got their suits and their ties on, and they don't. So singing to an audience that's not really giving you a reaction,
Responsive,
and then
yeah.
you get all in your head, and you're like, oh my god, are they liking it? Are they not? And you start overthinking and stuff. So I think the most difficult performances for me are corporate events that are very like formal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can agree with that. I also struggle with the unresponsive crowd. You want to be like, yo,
Yes.
dance or something.
Nah.
So I love what you're saying right there. That's a crazy, crazy journey that you've
Yeah.
been on. And just thinking about it, you've learned so much from the performance stages. What could you say is the biggest tip you could give to a young person? They're about to get on stage for the first time. You know, you're nervous and all of that. What's the biggest tip? Is it projecting? Is it how you hold the mic? Energy? What would you say is the biggest thing?
Number one, practice.
That's true. You can't just get on the stage.
Practice. I think practice takes away 80% of the nerves.
Yeah.
And then number two is I always do this. I always find one person in the crowd that I can connect with,
Yeah.
and I sing to that person.
Nice.
And then number three, just being comfortable with your band. If you are performing with a band, that makes it that much easier because you don't feel so alone on stage. But if you are by yourself, just doing singing with tracks, definitely finding one person in the audience and connecting with that person.
Nice. And you know, singing with the band it's a whole skill in itself. How long did it take you to get used to it, controlling the band? Because as my drummer had described to me when I first started with the band, he said, look, you're the driver of the bus. So you've got to tell us when we're going left, when we're going right, stop, speed up. You've got to, all while you're performing, which is a different world. If you're used to performing with the DJ or a backtrack, it's completely different.
Yes.
How long and how easy was it for you to adapt to that world?
Nah, it was really awesome because I have been blessed enough to work with and currently still do work with some of the best in the industry. So for me, it's nice because you allow each person to shine in their own right.
True.
And working with a band is it's just allowing everyone to be as creative as they possibly can be, obviously to a certain extent, but yeah, just being yourself, and like I said again, practicing with the band makes you that much more comfortable.
That is true. That is true. No, I love what you're saying because these are things that are not really spoken about out loud, especially in interviews of how it takes to adapt to a band and stuff. It looks so flawless on stage, especially when you have people who are so experienced and knowledgeable like yourself. So I'm very happy that you're willing to share with us such deep and intricate details that not a lot of people do share.
Yeah.
And I think that would lead me to asking the biggest piece of advice that you've received that's really stuck out for you, something that perhaps you're still utilizing right now within your career.
Sure. The biggest piece of advice, I think, would have been never let your gift become bigger than who you are. Yeah.
Okay.
So never let your gift exceed who you are as a human being.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful, and that speaks a lot to staying grounded. I hope a lot of young artists are taking note because the more grounded you are, the more natural your music sounds, the more pure your soul stays,
Yes.
and I think the longer you'll stay in the industry.
Definitely.
100%. Latoya, I wanted to ask you about fashion. Now we're in Bogart Man
fashion.
Radio, and I was at the launch for some of for the 3 singles, and I
Yeah.
mean you were dressed immaculately. How big a role does fashion play in your role as an artist and as an entrepreneur?
I'm a singer, so number one, I think it's always important to have your own personal signature in your style, which for me is always tulle and sneakers. I love sneakers, but I'm a girl.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd be a proper girly girl if I didn't love fashion. So it plays a big part. It allows me to express who I am. As an artist, it allows me to say what I'm feeling on the day. So yeah, it's a fun thing that allows me to have another source of creativity.
That's beautiful. And I think it does play quite a big role. I mean, as they say, your image is the first thing that people see before they hear
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
So, very powerful thing to take care of.
Yeah.
And also looking at fashion, another thing I wanted to ask you about is working with the creatives within the hub. Is there opportunities, or have you created opportunities where perhaps you meld the worlds together of your music, your artistry, and the fashion, perhaps fashion events where you're putting performances on, or any such things?
So I always try, by all means, especially when I travel to perform internationally, to use some of the fashion designers that we've worked with as an incubator.
Yeah.
So there's Tefo Designs, who's always does my dresses when I perform internationally, etc.
Nice.
We've also done a program called the Fashion Lab, and that was great, where a lot of we got about 13 fashion designers to collaborate with industry, and hairstylists, photographers, makeup artists, runway photographers, show callers, etc., etc.
Wow.
So we've done quite a bit in the fashion space. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. You guys are really helping on those millennium goals, one of them being to alleviate unemployment. And I think
Yes.
that the hub is really creating opportunities for a lot of youths around. That's a beautiful thing that you're doing.
Definitely.
Social media, is this something that plays a big role in some of the works that you're doing? How do you feel about social?
Listen, I think social media is an illusion, and people will show you what they want you to see on social media.
True.
Right, so that's the first thing. Number two is you cannot base your success or failure on the amount of likes or dislikes or comments that you have on social media. So I think social media is a powerful tool that can be used to enhance your brand and to grow your brand, but I don't think creatives and artists should become so tied to their worth being sort of bearing on how successful they are on social media. I always support underground artists, and I always support artists that are sort of that people don't really know about, and those are usually the artists that aren't that big
True.
on social media.
True. But one thing I wanted to know is about the aspect of promotion. And I know, especially with the Amak Piano kids, they love to use TikTok for promoting songs. Some of them will use it for debuting the songs. So for the first 2 weeks or so after creation, they'll put it on their TikTok, see how many views and reactions they get from it. If they don't like the views and reactions, they pull it down, they don't release it. So they're kind of using it as a way to test
As
the
a tool,
market,
yeah,
and
to test.
but at the same time, you're kind of leaking your own songs, which can lead
True.
to infringements on your own rights.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that gray area? Do you think it's something that we could also look at when they start talking about the white paper and all of these other amendments that they want to make to legislation for the digital realm of music? How do you think we can utilize social media without affecting the artistry?
I think number one, social media, if you're using it properly and you're being honest and authentic, is a great way for people to get to know you.
Yes.
The person behind the music and behind the fashion and behind the makeup and the music videos and all of that and the lifestyle. It's a great way to connect with people and for them to see the authenticity of who you are. But the flip side of that is when people become dependent on the likes and they become dependent on the audience, they sort of sway. They sort of morph into what they think the public wants them to be.
True.
So I think it's a great tool, but used with caution, I think.
Of course. And like I was saying, my biggest concern is the leaking of your own songs and not being able to go and copyright them before you putting it out there. It's a dangerous ground people are walking on.
Yeah, I think education is important, and I think that's also where a lot of people sort of lose the plot, is that they don't educate themselves in the legalities surrounding music. So that's important. I think I always say this in our sessions that we have at the incubator. If you can use your phone to post on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, you can use your phone to Google what your rights are.
Very
You
true.
can use your phone to Google what the legalities are surrounding the business that you are in.
Very
So
true.
as much as you can TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. You can also Google to sort of learn about the industry. Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And I think one thing that's also making a big splash, I don't know if it's positive or negative, but it is a big splash, is artificial intelligence entering into music and all facets of business. What is your take on artificial intelligence?
It's exciting, but it's scary.
Yeah.
I like human connection. I like human touch. I like the human element to everything. So I think it's a great cheat code for people who like that and who want to take the shortcut route. But nothing beats the human connection and the human touch.
100%. And I kind of knew you were going to say that. I mean, you work with the band, you everything you're doing so live. So
No, nothing beats. Like it's like listening to a programmed piano and then hearing the real thing.
yeah,
Nothing compares.
100%.
Nothing. And you can hear it. Like I've played my music for people, and they can immediately tell that it's real musicians. They say, "Oh, that's live, right?" And I'm like, "Listen, it's always nice for me that people recognize that it's real. There are actual people behind those instruments."
100%. And even for the people behind the instruments, it's a beautiful thing because it's not only marketing your work, it's marketing everyone's work at the same time. So it's a great ecosystem you're creating.
Yeah.
I love that right there. 2025 vision. I know that we're talking about the album coming out on the 4th of April and a lot of excitement around there. But is there other things that we're building up to, whether business-wise or musically?
So the album coming out, obviously, a few music videos. I'm in the process of conceptualizing that.
Oh, nice.
So that's going to be awesome. A few shows coming up in Cape Town, Durban, and PE.
Beautiful.
So that's something to look forward to. And then just getting the music out there, I think. For me, that's the plan for 2025. So music videos, a short mini tour of South Africa, and then hopefully we'll get into some collaborations.
I'm loving that right there. And if the people want to keep an eye on the tours or maybe book some tickets or look ahead at what's going to happen, can they keep an eye on the social media, or how can they do that?
So my social media, so Instagram, it's Leote, Leote_Lee on Instagram. And then on TikTok, it's at Leote04.
100. That's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful. And upcoming projects, is there any projects that perhaps the young entrepreneurs listening out there may be interested in or have a look at on the hub that you were speaking of?
So there's the visual special effects program that is quite exciting. So that's for everyone based in Cape Town. And then we've got a writer's lab program currently running in Ekurhuleni.
Nice.
And then just keep an eye on our socials. Obviously, I can't speak on programs before they become official.
Yes.
But just keep an eye out on our social media because there's quite a bit coming up in 2025.
No, that's beautiful. And plus, already you brought up 2 different provinces, so that's already a lot of vibes across the country that's confirmed and going to be happening.
Yes.
So happy for that. Some advice for the youngins that are listening out there, young entrepreneur, young musician, just young person, something that to motivate them, to keep them looking for a brighter day, keep them moving forward. Anything that you'd like to say?
I think I would say bring people along on your journey.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing better than achieving success with a few amazing people by your side. Number one, stay true to who you are. Don't try to conform or to become something that you're not. It's never fun to live a fake life, if I could say it like that. And number 3 is just, it's gonna sound so cliche, but it's actually so true. Don't stop doing what you love.
Beautiful.
Keep doing what you love. Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Determination, consistency, keep moving forward. You will make it in the end.
Definitely.
Love what you're saying right there, Leote. I want to say thank you so much for joining us on Bogart Man Radio. You've dropped so much wisdom. You've given us insight into your business mind, into your creative mind. You wear a lot of hats. You're a busy lady, and we're just glad you made some time for us.
But thank you so much for having me. I hope to see you on the 4th of April, all of you.
Yeah.
Please go on Quicket. It's called A Night with Leote at Artistry, an amazing venue. We're going to have some great food, some drinks. There's going to be an awesome DJ. There's also going to be a networking session, which is going to be integrated into the event. So right afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for you to network with some people in the industry. So please join me.
Oh man, that's so special.
Yeah.
I love that right there. Networking is one of the most key parts of being an entrepreneur and an artist right now. So thank you for putting that in there. People join us at Artistry on the 4th of April. It's going to be amazing. Leote is going to be dropping the album. She's going to be performing. She's going to have a great DJ, food, drinks. What more can you ask for? An amazing time right there. Well, that's it for the interview right now on Bogart Man Radio, but we will keep the good times going, getting into a little bit of that reggae music. I got my sister over here, and she goes by the name of Chanel Muir, and the song is entitled Protected.